everyone, it's Lisa here. Today I thought I would create a card with lots of sparkle and shine for you, and I'm going to be playing with the Laurel Leaf Para-Dies and also the Pagoni Mania hot foil plates. So I will show the foiling process in today's video, as I haven't done that for a little while. So let's get started. My card today features a panel which uses the leftover of my original foiled panel. But to start off, we need to create that original panel, and I'm using some matte gold foil and the Pagoni Mania plate, and I'm also using some Spellbinders speciality cardstock. So I've made my foiling sandwich. I'm just taping that plate to my cardstock just to make sure it's nice and secure. My Glimmer machine has been warming up and is ready to go. So I'm just going to flip my sandwich, hit the timer button, and then wait for that to stop. Now the button has stopped blinking, I can remove that from the machine and run it through my die cutting machine. I've now brought it back to my desk and I'm just peeling off that foil so you can see what that looks like. I got a perfect foil on my first attempt. I am using speciality cardstock, so that definitely helps. And now we're going to use the leftover foil, put the solid foil plate down. This is from Pinkfresh Studio. Tape it down again, flip the sandwich, and then I'm just going to put that back onto my machine. And once again, I'm going to wait for that timer button to stop blinking, remove the platform, and then run it through my die cutting machine. So I've brought the sandwich back to my desk. I shall just remove that plate and I can start peeling back the foil. I did mostly get a really good foil, but there is a little area at the top and one at the bottom which don't foil that well. It's not going to matter as I'm actually cutting this panel down, but if I was going to use the whole panel, I would need to refoil that. I've got a rectangle die there that I'm just lining up, and as you can see, it just about misses those areas that didn't foil well. I shall tape that down, run it through the die cutting machine, and then move on to the rest of the die cutting. And I'm being quite careful here as I remove that low tack tape, just to make sure that I don't take any of the foil off the panel. So moving on to the rest of the die cutting now, I've got a piece of white cardstock here. This is heavyweight, and I'm just going to cut an oval panel from that. That is going to be set on our background, and that is going to provide the focal point for the laurel leaves once I've die cut those. So just looking to make sure that I'm happy with the size of that. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut a frame for that. So I'm using some white glitter cardstock here and just trying to line up the two dies so I can cut an even frame. I always find this really fiddly, especially with glitter cardstock. And I've just run that through the die cutting machine and that is ready. And you can see here I'm going to use some gold glitter and some black glitter cardstock to cut out the laurel leaves. I absolutely love these leaves. I think they're so pretty. So I'm going to start assembling the card now. I'm just adding some adhesive onto the back of the white oval, and I'm going to secure that down over the background panel, and I do put some blocks on it and I leave it for a little while to make sure that it's really adhered well, because it's always a bit difficult when you use wet adhesive on foil. It takes a while to dry. And now that that's dry, I can go ahead and add on my glitter frame on the top. So just adding some tiny bits of adhesive onto that there before I secure that down. Again, I put some blocks on it for a little while, and I leave out a small section at the bottom of the oval, as that's where I want to insert my leaves. But this is a very basic oval die cut, and I think having a glitter frame really helps to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm now going to see where I want to have my leaves positioned. So as I mentioned a moment ago, there is a little gap at the bottom of that frame so that I can poke the stem through. So just moving that around just until I'm happy with how that sits across that oval. And then I take the gold die cut and I just put that in just to make sure I'm happy with how both of them look as a pair. I'm going to remove the gold one and just adhere the black one down. And I make this look a lot more fiddly than it actually was. I didn't want to take it out of the frame because I was worried that if I removed it and added my glue on the back, that when I went to reinsert it, I would end up getting glue across that white oval in the background where I didn't want it to be. So I thought it would be best to leave it in place and add the glue while it was actually kind of tucked within the frame. And I'm now going to go ahead and add in the gold leaves as well. In hindsight, I should have added a second layer on the back of each of those leaf die cuts. It would have made them a bit more sturdy and a bit easier to insert into the frame, but it did work out okay, and they do look really beautiful in real life. So that is how the card is looking at the moment, and I'm just going to add some adhesive onto the back and then add that onto a top folding heavyweight white note card. And I really love the combination of white, black and gold. You often see it at Christmas and New Year, but I think it works all year round. So we're now going to work on our sentiment. I'm using the All My Love set, and I've taken the happy birthday sentiment from that, and off camera I white heat embossed that onto black cardstock. I trimmed it down with a sentiment strip die, added some foam tape onto the back, and I'm just going to position that in the bottom left hand corner of the card. And I'm just going to finish off with some gems. These are the Enchanted Forest gems, beautiful pot of gold loveliness that I use often, and I thought they would go well on this card. So even though I've used lots of sparkly elements on this card, you've got the gems, the 3 different colours of the glitter cardstock, and you've also got the shine from the foil. I still think it looks pretty clean and simple despite all of that lovely bling, but let me know what you think in the comments. That brings us to the end of today's card. I will be back next week with another card for you, but in the meantime I wish you a lovely weekend. Bye for now.